There's one other brand I
Right.
want to talk about in the hydration space or in the beverage space, at least, called Prime. We've talked about them a few times recently on this podcast. In 2022, they did 250 million in sales. In 2023, I heard they did $1.2 billion, 1.2 billion in sales. They outsold Gatorade at Walmart. At Walmart, which is bananas. They were selling units of Prime for $1,500 on sites like eBay. What is that? What was that?
I don't
thumbs
know.
up?
It's like,
did you just see that thumbs up?
You ever seen? Yeah, have you seen that new update where if you put a thumbs up on your, like if you put yours higher, it'll just activate a thumbs up emoji on the Mac
What? I've never
or on
seen
FaceTime.
that. Okay, great. I've never seen that, but all right. So Prime, it was selling units for $1,500 on sites like eBay. Now, supposedly, it's being clearanced for something like 30 cents a bottle. The sales have fallen by 50% in Q1 2024 compared to Q1 2023. Have you heard of this? What happened to Prime?
It's a good question. I actually don't. I haven't heard any insider information about Prime. I've heard some outsider information in the sense of like people who are pretty well versed in the world of beverage, or kind of like the Illuminati of beverage, you could say. They predicted this. Not they. This one person predicted this last year, that Prime, like when they saw this previously, it was very similar to not a pump and dump, but it did extremely well for 2 years, and then a year, maybe two, and then sort of just fell off. And almost as if like it rode a trend versus became something of a routine, or became something of a, kind of like a in the standard diet or whatever. And I think that Prime, like when Prime was selling for $1,500 a bottle, it wasn't because of what was inside the bottle. It was because what the bottle meant as a symbol of culture, or being cool or trendy or whatever it was. And I think that they built that brand in a really strong way, but then I think they didn't necessarily think about the retention aspect to it. I also think like the brand went from not being available anywhere, huge marketing, to being available, in almost too many places. Where if you go into the average store now, like it's on discount, and they can't really get rid of it.
So let me ask you this. Were they building a Gatorade competitor, or were they building the next generation Supreme?
Oh, it's a good question. I think they were building, I think they thought they were building a Gatorade competitor, but they ended up building like a short-term Supreme. Like, I don't know that Prime is still cool anymore as much as, as much as like maybe some of the other brands that did a good job getting really loud and getting everywhere. I think they accidentally built this like drop model type product that is no longer seen as, as cool, basically.
Yeah. I had
What's your opinion on it?
I think you're right. I think I'm not sure if they thought they were building the next generation Gatorade, or the next generation, or like they knew what they had and that it was like a drop Supreme type model. But I do think that there are a lot of businesses that are being built on hype, and or like more fads that are genuinely sustainable businesses. I should say there's a lot more. I should say there are businesses that are fads and not genuinely sustainable businesses. And I think that if you have a fad that's doing really well, you have about 12 or 18 months to figure out how to turn that fad into a sustainable business before you lose the momentum that you'll be able to do anything with. And I think a good example of that is Last Crumb cookies, I think. Like Last Crumb was this amazing brand. I saw all these influencers posting about it and opening up these boxes of beautiful cookies. I ordered it. I was a VIP member. I'm not an investor, but I was, I spent thousands of dollars.
You bought that $1,000 card, right? Like the VIP card was, membership.
That's right. I spent at least $4,000 with Last Crumb in my life, but I was like, and because it was a fad, and it was a fad that I was like, okay, I'm going to participate in this fad. But I think
Yeah.
they had a certain period of time where they're like, how do we turn this into a non-fad, legitimate, strong business? And I think they didn't do that. And the way to have done that would to be like, okay, great, we make these amazing cookies and we ship them to your house and we're really fast at it. What about how do we sell cookies at brick and mortar stores? Like, can we capitalize on our fad to get shelf space and build a sustainable business that has turn at brick and mortar stores? How do we compete with Oreo? Because at some point we're going to have to do that. We can't realistically think we're going to drop a chocolate chip cookie or a new flavor of cookie every several weeks and have $75 million in sales every year. Like, it's a fad and you've got 12 months, maybe 24 months to capitalize on it and to shift your thinking and to shift the business from being like, okay, we're really popular on Instagram, but what's going to happen 3 years from now or 2 years from now?
Yeah. Man, that is so true. Like yeah, you're so right. There's so many brands that like they get on that hype train, but then they're not good at converting that into something that is long term. And I think one example that was popping into my head was Red Bull, because all Red Bull does is just try to create dope content. That's all they do.
Yeah.
Like their entire game from the beginning has been to create good content, and that worked really well for them initially because it set them apart from other people. Then it worked really well for them when everybody would, when it was like, you rent, or when the game was to get followers or to have an audience, they won there because their content was sick. So they built that audience. And now where the game doesn't, it doesn't matter if you have an audience or not, as long as you make good content, you are winning because that's what the platforms want. They're still winning in that game. And all they've done, and they've stayed relevant throughout all these years. Like they're actually, Red Bull's sales is greater than I think majority of all other energy drinks combined.
Yeah. I think, they turned what should have been a fad, I think, into a legitimate business, and like a sustainable one. Because, they say we're not a beverage company, we're a media company, actually.